Hey, what's up, guys? This is brain train number 1. It's going to be in your workout plan as BT1. And reminder, there are 6 movement patterns that we're working on. We're adding something else at the end here. So we're working on hinging with a dowel deadlift. We're going to work on a squat with a deep squat exercise, rotational push-up. We're going to do for our push pattern. We're going to do our scapular letters for our pull pattern. Again, none of this is new for you guys. Carrying, we're going to work on a suitcase carry. Holding is going to be our active plank. And then we're going to add a metabolic component at the end. With our metabolics, it's kind of like a sprint. You're going to go 30 seconds of high intent exercise, and then you're going to rest for a minute. Active rest, walking around, recovering your heart rate, recovering your breath, and then you're going to go again. Of course, on the second round of 30 seconds, your goal is to beat the number of reps that you got in the first 30 seconds. So this is what brain train works, how brain train works. We do a bunch of cool movement patterns, kind of like awkward exercises, and then we blast some metabolic at the end, and then we run through the whole thing again. You can do 2 or 3 rounds like this. And then each week we're going to build on the complexity of the exercise. So because I know that a lot of you guys don't have a lot of heavy weight to be lifting right now, but I still want you getting stronger and staying fit and getting better at your movement to get better with power. We're going to work on these awkward exercises that are cool because they work well with gravity as your resistance. Maybe there's some bands, maybe a little bit of light weight in there. Don't need a huge gym. So we're going to start. This is review in some cases. But I need you guys to let me know that you're working on this. So we can move on to level 2. Okay. So level 1 looks like this. We are using a dowel. So this is a golf club without the head on it. A baseball bat works well too. It needs to be kind of long, as long as your spine, and it can't be very heavy. So it's going to go on your back. Hat goes facing forward or off your head. So because the dowel needs to touch the back of your head and it needs to be touching your tailbone. You're going to hold with one hand in that little space in your lower back. Other hand goes right behind your neck. And you're just going to practice hinging your hips forward and backward. As you hinge your hips back, your chest comes forward. Your spine is still straight. Dowel is still in contact with the back of my head and my tailbone. And I'm spreading my heels apart. I want you to feel like you're trying to push your heels away from each other. Like if you were on some slippery surface, like a hardwood floor with socks on, your heels would actually separate apart. Here with shoes on or other situation, your heels aren't, I don't want your heels to actually move, but I want you pushing them in that direction. That gets your hip muscles turned on to work together with your back muscles to make a competent, strong deadlift. So you're just gonna go 12 to 15 reps, really focusing on pushing your legs apart from each other. If you have a band that you wanna tie around your knees to do this, if you had a band, look, even take a J-band, you can tie it around your knees, you can make a cute little bow, and you can have, just so it's kind of pulling your knees in a little bit, that way it's making you pull this way, and then you're gonna fight that and pull it out. So you're gonna try to be pulling your knees and your heels out while you're doing your deadlift. Same as you're moving into your squat pattern. So again, if you have a band, have it around your knees. So if you had 2 bands, I would say tie one around your knees and then hold the other one. You can use your J-bands for this. You can hold, so this is a super skinny J-band, so I'm gonna hold like this, so it's doubled. If you have one of the stiffer ones, just hold it like this, so it's just one length of it, okay? The resistance here doesn't need to be super high because you're gonna do something kind of weird with it. I want you to keep your wrists really straight as you do this, like this. They're gonna wanna bend and kind of curl, and I want you to really focus on keeping them straight and keeping your chest up. All you're gonna do is hold, put your feet about shoulder width apart, hold the band in your capital T position. So I'm shoving my shoulder blades toward each other and punching my knuckles outward as I sit down into my squat, trying to keep my chest up. Knees are spreading out, heels are pushing out. Come down with slow control, power on the way up. Down with slow control, power on the way up. If we go sideways, I want you to notice I'm focusing on keeping my chest up. I definitely don't want you hunkering down this way. And I don't need you to come so low that your hips actually roll under. Okay, so hips to about knee height, chest is up, gaze is forward. Power up, slow motion on the way down, power on the way back up. So deadlifts and squats using your bands, not for resistance, but to help guide the movement and help make that better. Your rotational push-up can be a regular push-up. I think these work better with your hands elevated a little bit. So I'm just gonna use my little step. The reason they work better with the hands elevated is that way you can really focus on your rotational control and not so much just like the work that it takes to do the actual push-up. So if your hands are like on something that's like knee height, it makes it easy. The push-up part gets easier, so you can focus on the other part, which is the challenge here. So we're gonna go regular push-up. Then I want you to keep yourself in a solid trunk position, shoulders and hips rotating together as you come to side plank. You're gonna hold here just for a couple seconds, feel like your pit is pulling down toward your hip. Hold strong, belly forward, and then your hand goes back on your chest or your belly to monitor that this is all staying solid together as you rotate back to a one-arm front plank that you're just gonna hold for a second before you bust out your next push-up, and then you go to the other side. You're gonna go for a total of about 10 push-ups, so about 5 planks on either side, okay? So in your workout, the way that I've written it, it says 8 to 12 reps. What that means is 8 to 12 push-ups with this side rotation. So the quality of the rotational control is what we're going for here, not how many push-ups you can do. That's a different challenge. So rotational push-up. Then we're gonna go with our letters. You guys have done these a bunch. We start with our I, we go to A, then we go T, then we go thumbs up, T, just rotate. Then you're gonna go to your Y, and then down to your W. With your W, you're focusing on keeping your elbows at 90 degrees and not coming in too close, right? Elbows at 90 degrees. Chest is on the floor, nose is just barely floating off the ground. 10 seconds in each position, so that's a 1 minute thing. 1 minute, that's it. Of course, you're gonna go through it a couple times. When you get to the point that you can do that, and that's super easy for you to keep your elbows straight, it's super easy for you to like breathe well the whole time for that whole minute, then we're moving on to the next thing. So that's how we do our shoulder, our scap letters. You guys have done those before. But again, paying attention to what your shoulder blades are doing and the quality of the motion, not just surviving through the minute, right? All right, then we're going to carries. When you're carrying weight, regardless of what it is, you could be taking the groceries in from the car. When you're carrying weight, if you have even on both sides, that just makes you heavier, right? Like it's just compressing your spine. It's making you weigh whatever pound, 10 pounds in each hand, make you 20 pounds heavier if you're holding it like this. If you put all those 20 pounds into one hand, now that makes it more neurologically complex because now your weight is pulling you down sideways and you have to keep yourself upright. That's how we're gonna practice this. We're gonna go suitcase carries. You're gonna load up your backpack with the books that you're maybe not using these days, and you're gonna shove them in your backpack and you're gonna carry it. So we want the load to be light-ish because you're doing something that's complicated, so it can't be like a max lift. You're gonna hold something that's pretty light. So I have a 25-pound kettlebell, and I'm gonna hold it right by my leg. I'm gonna pull my shoulder blade back. I'm gonna hold my other hand in tension as if it had weight also to kind of help with my postural control. And I'm gonna walk forward. And then I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna go backward. What I want you to do is set up is find a place where you've got like maybe 10 feet or something to walk forward and walk backward, and just do that for a minute with the load in the right hand, and then do it for a minute with the load in the left hand. We're gonna make this more complicated also, but I want you having a good foundational control of posture before we move on. So that's level 1 with our carries, so-called suitcase carry. And then our plank is gonna be an active plank where we kind of switch up the control a little bit. So we're going, forearms are parallel to each other, palms on the ground, elbows are right underneath your shoulders, and you're gonna be pulling your elbows toward your toes, kind of pulling down for part of this plank. The other thing I want you paying attention to is tucking your tail, so your laser beam is pointing up toward your face more than it is toward your toes. So we're here, laser beam tuck pointing toward the face, back is straight, so try not to round too much to the upper back also. Let the heart chest kind of soften toward the ground. Elbows pull towards the toes for 10. And then you can push, give yourself a little bit of a rest, but you're still holding your plank. Then you pull for 10, then you push, then you pull. So you alternate pushing and pulling, 10 seconds each for a total of 60 seconds. So 1 minute of plank, not a big deal. So that's your hold. And the last thing is our metabolic. So we're gonna do for our first, for this round, metabolic, we're gonna go narrow jumps, narrow squats to wide squats, bouncing back and forth. So like you did your narrow squat in your warm up, this is why. I want you to go narrow squat, which is gonna feel weird, right? Narrow squat, arms out in front, pop up, and you land in a wide squat. Then you pop up, narrow squat. 1 rep is narrow to wide. 2, 3, and we see how many we can do in 30 seconds. You go and you work hard. You make them quality, but you work hard. You see how fast you can get them going. Then you rest for a minute and you do a second round, a second set. After all that, you're done with round 1. If you have time, you can roll through it a second time or a third time. That makes up your workout for right now. So dynamic warm-up 1, followed by brain train number 1. Let me know what you think.